Lately, I think everyone's been struggling with Night Stalker, Mirana, and some other of the top meta heroes, and often I think a lot of us try to figure out what do we do against it? What is the correct solution? What heroes do we pick? What items do we buy? And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly that. When you encounter one of these heroes, whether it's a first or a last pick, what do you do to try to make the best of the situation? Because frankly, games can even start on the wrong note once you see a Night Stalker. Everyone just gets tilted and they're like, oh my god, we lost. It's like Alcov last patch. This pro guide you're about to see is one of hundreds, just like it, over at GameLeap.com. GameLeap is your #1 stop to become a specialist in your desired role fast. Check us out today with the discount link in the description below to unlock your hidden potential, but for now, let's hop into the video. So the first hero, of course, respectfully, that we're going to be talking about how to counter is Night Stalker, right? I mean, I feel like I just have to. If you haven't played against Night Stalker yet this patch, either you're just not playing Dota at all, or you're absurdly lucky. Because, frankly, I've played a couple pubs, and this hero's been in at least half the games. I'm not over-exaggerating. And you might ask why. Well, recently he received the buff where his Void, his nuke, no longer does half damage in the daytime, which allows him to make more use of his Aghanim Scepter, allows him to farm during the daytime, and at the same time, it allows it to have much more impact in the laning stage, which is where I think his biggest weakness was, right? During the laning stage, he was just a big melee creep, but with this buff, he's quite a bit better, and that is why you're probably going to see a lot more of this hero. But now let's talk about what to do to actually get past this barrier. So the first thing I want to mention is that this hero is very timing specific. Now, of course, it could be daytime, and if you push against him while he has his ultimate up, he's going to simply use it and kill you all. So how do you get around that? Well, you have a couple options. First off, you could actually force a fight and try to force out his ultimate and then back off, but that can be very difficult in pubs. So what are some great heroes to actually allow this? That's what we're going to be looking at. So the first hero is Meepo. Now, if Night Stalker in that case was to run at you, you could net him off, right? Or it goes both ways. You can net onto him. Understanding how to kill Night Stalker is very important. So first off, this hero has extremely high mobility. So if you don't have a ton of lockdown and very consistent lockdown, he simply goes in and out of the fight, over the trees with his ultimate, silences you. It becomes a mess, right? It's just a big mess. So having a hero like Meepo that can consistently lock down a Night Stalker from range allows your team to pick up the kill. Not only that, if a Night Stalker goes on a Meepo, the silence does not give a mischance. It used to in the past, definitely does not anymore. And as a result, if a Night Stalker goes on a Meepo, the Meepo can just straight up man up. Nothing Night Stalker can do about it. In fact, he'll just get slowed and chopped apart. And at the same time, right, Meepo can take heavy advantage against the weak timings of the Night Stalker, right? Let's really think about it. What does Meepo like to do? The best thing to do on a Meepo is Rosh and then take over aggressive areas of the map. And once it hits daytime, Meepo can Rosh and then take over aggressive parts of the map. Makes a lot of sense. Moving on, we have Lycan. Why is Lycan good? Well, first off, Howl, the effects of it is doubled in the nighttime, which, you know, makes sense against Night Stalker as you're going to be fighting in the night, and he makes it night, so Howl is just good then. And the second half is that you actually can catch up to him and kill him, right? Once again, a lot of heroes just can't kill Night Stalker. It's extremely difficult. He's one of the tankiest heroes in the game. Lycan can do it, especially in the early game with his Necro Book 1 and a Helm Dom creep. You can kill a Night Stalker, even though he might seem pretty tanky. Next up, we have Bloodseeker. So this kind of goes back to the point of if a Night Stalker is charging at you, especially if he just popped his ultimate and you know you want to kite it out, you can rupture him, right? Just straight up rupture him and back off. That's it. Also, you man up fairly well against heroes, right? Especially if they're low HP, and you can buy a Blade Melt. And finally, the last hero for countering Night Stalker is Naga. This one is really great because Night Stalker can't really pressure Naga in lane at all, meaning that Naga is going to get free farm most likely. And on the second half to that, she has the best way of disengaging from a Night Stalker ultimate, period. If you see him coming in, like let's say you're going for the middle tower and you see him coming in, even though it's daytime, he turns on his ult, you just song and disengage. And then, once the song ends, and his ultimate ends, you go back in. It makes so much sense. And similar to the topic of the Meepo, you also can man up no problem on a Night Stalker, which is very beneficial for any hero. And just to top off each and every hero, I'm going to give a few items that I think are particularly good against them. First off is Force Staff. It can help you get out of the Night Stalker silence, but be careful as the linger time can actually still get you killed. Second is BKB. I mean, you just have to buy this so you don't get silenced. That's about it. And then Ghost Scepter, right? If he goes on top of you and you simply can't man up to his extremely high attack speed and bonus damage from his Dark Ascension, you pop Ghost Scepter and try to buy some time. Next up on the list is Mirana, right? This hero has been the top 4 hero of the patch and has been basically since TI. And yeah, let's talk about countering her. So you have a couple different options. The main ones you want to consider are heroes with purges, right? And this is going to be the main topic of what I actually mentioned in countering Mirana. You have heroes like Legion, you have heroes like Oracle, Abaddon, Slark, and all these are fantastic, but for multiple reasons. So each of those heroes can just simply purge the arrow, right? Which is the reason why I first off put them here. But at the same time, Legion can duel the Mirana. Oracle can use his Fate's Edict to prevent any magical damage from the Mirana. Also, Oracle can, use his root to catch the Mirana. Abaddon can silence her and actually chip her down in the laning stage with his Q. And finally, Slark's Pounce prevents her from being able to leap, right? So all those heroes have not only a purge, but some way to actually track her down or be very annoying to Mirana in the game. And the final one I want to mention about Mirana is Bounty Hunter. Why Bounty Hunter? Now, this is one that I've seen in my games before, and I saw it on the Dota buff, and I'm like, yeah, I really love this one. I really, really do. Because it makes a lot of sense to me where Mirana is a hero that does not have a high HP pool. She's not a hero that has a high HP pool. And as a result, a Bounty Hunter with 1 crit and Shuriken can take half of Mirana's HP, if not more. And as a result, it takes her out of the fight. And the second half to that is if she ultimates using her Moonlight Shadow, you have track to cover it, which is actually extremely useful. It just is. Having track for Invis is great. It's fantastic. But I really like the ability to burst her with low committal, right? Her having a low HP pool, a lot of heroes to go on her, like an Ursa. If an Ursa wanted to jump on Mirana, he'd have to jump in and get up close and personal and really commit even a BKB. But Bounty Hunter is so fast where you can just hit her once, throw a Shuriken, and get out. And a couple items that are good against Mirana is Atos, right? The root prevents her from leaping. Pipe, because she is a majority magical damage hero, especially if she buys an Ags. And Blade Mail, because things like Arrow and especially her Starfall are very uncontrollable. Next up on the list, we have Earthshaker. Now, of course, Earthshaker isn't necessarily crazy top meta, but he's picked a ton in pubs, one of the highest picked heroes in Dota in general. No Pudge, but up there. And what I want to mention about Shaker is that I think the best way to counter him is having a better vision game, because what Earthshaker relies on to come in and crush those team fights is good vision of the enemy team, right? He likes to be patient and wait for people to group up. So if you can have one hero hunt him alone, it causes a massive issue for Earthshaker. And heroes that do this are Batrider, right? With his Firefly, he can scout out Shaker's initiation. You have a Beastmaster with the Hawks and his Wild Axes to cut down trees. You have Night Stalker, his Night Vision and Ultimate to scout out the Earthshaker. And then finally you have Clockwork, who is a great one because he can hookshot and cast his Battery Assault to prevent Earthshaker from using any spells at all. That one's really crazy. Also, once again, you have Vision from your Rocket Flare, so just a great overall counter to Earthshaker. And then the second category that we're going to be going over for countering Shaker is heroes that don't necessarily care about his initiation, and those three are going to be Tide, Bristle, and Bounty. And I know I'm using Bounty again, guys. Don't flame me, please. But Tide is good because of Kraken Shell. If Earthshaker goes in and he tries to stun lock your team and you happen to be caught inside of it, you still will be able to get your Ravage off because he will purge one of the stuns, which creates a great situation in keeping your team alive. Next up is Bristle. Why do I like Bristle? Because he can run in, he can find the Shaker, he can cancel the Blink Dagger with his Quills, and create just a living hell for Earthshaker. And finally, Bounty, same thing. If you get a track on Shaker, his fight's ruined. Not only that, you can hit him once, cancel Blink, and get out. Or you can just earn him if you happen to go that build. And a couple items are wards, right? Once again, the vision game, get high ground wards, smokes so that you can get the initiation, and a force staff because you can actually force staff him away from your teammates if he's chain stunning them, or force staff a teammate away from him, or over a Fissure. Next up on the list, we have Slark, and I feel like this is one of the most asked questions in Dota. How do you counter Slark? How do you do it? Well, a lot of it is paying attention to his spell cooldowns. That's the first thing I want to say, guys. When you're trying to counter Slark, the main thing you need to pay attention to is Dark Pact, right? You want to learn how long it takes to start and how long it lasts for. Because once it ends, if you can punish that right away, then you burst the hero. Because Slark's usually not that tanky, especially previous to his BKB timing, right? The hero will almost always have around 1400 HP at max, maybe slightly more if you happen to go a stat heavy build. But in general, one of the best ways to kill Slark is grouping up, right? Slark hates when people are close together, especially if the game is even. He despises that because he wants to hit people on the outside, and different sorts of lockdown that he can actually protect himself against, which is what we will be covering here. And that is why the first hero is Grimstroke. Grimstroke's Phantom Embrace that silences cannot be purged by Slark. And yes, he has a high attack speed to get rid of it, but often that 1 second or 1.5 seconds that he is silenced due to the Phantom's Embrace is more than enough to pick up the kill. Also, you have something like the Leash, and because of how fast Slark is, if he gets leashed, he's going to hate that. And finally, Inkswell, it's good. If Slark goes on you, you Inkswell, so he has to kind of wait on the Dark Pact, but at the same time, then you can silence him to prevent him from, properly using his ultimate at the right time, and it can create a very sketchy situation for Slark. And overall, great counter pick for your support. Next up, we have Faceless Void. This is one you're probably familiar with, frankly, but in general, it just makes a lot of sense because Slark cannot really counter Chrono. If he gets Chronoed, he gets Chronoed and can get bursted by any sort of magical damage, as Slark does not have a high HP pool. Also, Void's ability to put every single one of Slark's abilities on halt, right, with his W, is fantastic. If you see Slark uses Q, which is his purge, you instantly can just pop your W and completely prevent him from taking long, drawn-out fights, which is exactly what Slark is looking for. Next up, we have Leshrac. The great thing about Leshrac is that all of his damage, besides Lightning Storm, goes through Slark's ultimate, so you just destroy him in the early game. It's as simple as that. Also, you like grouping up, which counters Slark. Also, you take his towers. Right? You just shred his towers, you close in the map, and you can end the game early. Next up is one that I think has a lot of potency as a support, and that is very underrated, which is Disruptor, right? For a couple of reasons. You can't purge Glimpse, first off, and you can't purge Disruptor's ultimate, right? You can't. And as a result, if you glimpse Slark into a kinetic field, plus Static Storm, he's stuck. He's probably dead. That's it. That's all I have to say. Also, if a Slark goes on you, you can glimpse him, and once again, he can't purge that, so you have a very good defensive option too. Makes a lot of sense, very underrated. And finally, the last one is Pangolier. If you didn't know, Shield Crash can actually break you out of Pounce, and as a result, it's just a solid matchup. Plus, you can disarm the Slark, right, if you see him commit his Dark Pact, or if he's trying to, go on a support and doesn't want to use Dark Pact yet, you can get that disarm, and you can force out bad Dark Pact usage. And the second half to that is you can chain stun him. It can be as simple as that. Your ability to chain stun any target and hit them, even hit a Slark even when he's in his ultimate, is priceless. It's just priceless. Some items to counter Slark